Gonna be a lot more different this time for Terence Crawford, even from the Errol Spence fight, and that was a big fight. That fight did numbers, but we're talking Allegiant Stadium. Terence Crawford's never fought in a stadium. Canelo's done it twice, I think, or maybe more than that. But the amount of fans that are going to be there for Canelo Alvarez is going to dwarf Bud Crawford fans. I'm gonna tell you that right now. If you don't believe me, you're out of your mind. Canelo is going to fill that place up. There are going to be Canelo fans, and he is used to that kind of pressure. Not saying that Terence Crawford isn't used to pressure, not saying that he won't perform well, but make no mistake about it, he will be booed very heavily on fight night. That's my prediction. My prediction, this is going to be enemy territory. This is going to be a home game for Canelo. One, because Canelo has dominated Vegas now for a long time, and just because he's the bigger star. This is going to be a road game for Bud Crawford. He's treating it like that, too.
All right, man. You know, some guy on, I think The Ring reposted it or something like that, and, you know, he basically questioned, you know, how Bud was going to react in a stadium of all Mexican fans. He said the Mexican fans going to drown out the Crawford fans, and how Bud, you know, fighting in the stadium, which, you know, Bud been fought in the stadium his last fight. I mean, Bud is going to react. And also I'm going to talk about real quick about the other side of the trap here, about, you know, will Bud be able to get a decision or a fair shake? Now, Antonio Tarver said he needs a knockout. You know, I mean, it's a great question to ask for a fighter. Like, in these situations, you know, I know it'll vary. You know, do you train for the knockout? That's what I would ask. You know what I'm saying? Do y'all train for the knockout, or you take the Beaver approach, which I'm just doing my best to let the chips fall where they may fall? I feel like if you try to train for the knockout or push for the knockout from the beginning of the fight, I feel like that could like deter you from your game plan. But if you know you can't get a fair shake, you know what I'm saying? Like damn, you know, I'd rather go out on my shield trying. But I mean, shit. I think Square Biz, man, I mean, shit, go for the gusto. I mean, I think he's going to take the Beaver approach. They're going to box. I think they're going to box. They're going to execute a game plan. And I heard they say they got all bases covered. And I think you got to take the Beaver approach. You got to come in and, you know, obviously you put that in the back of your head, but you got to take the best approach. You got to hit and don't get hit. That's the name of the game. And if you hit and don't get hit, and they take it from you like they did from because you got to remember, still Turkey is still just Tom and Jerry shit. If they take it from you like they did against William Skull, I mean, you just let the chips fall where they fall. You know what I'm saying? You let the chips fall where they may fall. You know, I think you box, you stick and move, you hit and don't get hit. That's the name of the game, no matter if they're trying to rename it or not. That's the name of the game. It's not brutality. It's not Knockout Kings. You remember that game used to be fire. It's one of the few things EA did right. You know, it's boxing. It's hit and don't get hit. And everybody just focus on the hit. Hey, you get style points. You get ring generalship for making people miss and being defensively responsible. You know, but I do think that they take the Beaver approach, but him, getting a fair shake. I mean, you're going into Mexican territory. That we know. You going into Mexican territory. We know that. Vegas, that's his town. Yes, there's going to be a whole bunch of more fans there. Should that deter Terence Crawford? I don't think not. A lot of times, I was one of those guys that played on the road. I like playing on the road better than at home. It made me focus. It made me more focused. I knew, the bigger the challenge, or if we was on, I knew I couldn't, I didn't have much room for error. I was more of a pressure build diamonds type of dude. I know I played better when it wasn't much room for error. I knew I had to, I knew when the chips was on the table, I had to perform. I think Crawford is that type of guy. The bigger the challenge, the more focused you are. A lot of times when the challenge, you are like, oh, I'm going to beat him, or that's when a lot of guys tend to kind of make it harder, or they tend to lose when they don't take a guy serious or something like that. I think this, with all the fans and him knowing if Canelo throw and hit his arm, he understands. He's been around the block. And that's one thing about Shakur Stevenson. when he was in there versus Williams and Zepeda, and he knew the Tom and Jerry thing was going on, or he knew that situation, he kept his poise. So you have to be, it all goes together. From getting a fair shake to the crowd and all, you have to be poised. You have to know that if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, this bitch gonna be quiet than a motherfucker. So louder than, even if, if I'm executing my game plan and I'm doing what I need to do, you know what I'm saying? And this bitch gonna be quiet. It's gonna be a lot of slow slinking and flower bringing. So of course that's in the back of their head that they may not get a fair shake, but you have to be like Beevil. You have to just do what's best for you. If slugging it out is what's best, if it's getting on the inside of his chest is what's best, you'll be surprised. Andre Ward made a living. You're gonna take some chances. He took a good right hand from Kovalev, but psychologically, when he got up from that right hand and strapped his nuts on, and he walked Kovalev down, that was the end of the crusher. That motherfucker was just Sergey Kovalev. It wasn't no more Sergey Crusher Kovalev. It was just Sergey Kovalev. So sometimes the inside is the most safest place to be. Believe it or not. Especially when you got guys who don't know how to defend on the inside. Errol Spence, Canelo eat a lot of uppercuts on the inside. I noticed that in tape. Caleb Plant landed a bunch of them. Dimitri Bivol landed that uppercut. You know what I'm saying? So Bud can get on the inside of Canelo. You open yourself up to that left hook to the body. But if you can keep it tight, a lot of times, man, you get up under a guy, you push him back. That's how you do it. That's why Usyk did so well from Tyson Fury. He was able to get up under him. So, but yeah, for a guy to say, the big light, Bud be 38 years old. Bud been fighting internationally. Bud, what more pressure than your motherfucking mama hiring niggas to jump you in the hood? Ain't no too much more pressure than that. That's pressure. Pressure is, running the streets. Pressure is, what I'm saying? Like, he was on the chilling circuit for real. They didn't want to let him in, and that's why you see a lot of hate that he get online. A lot of hate that he's seen is paid for. It's payola. A lot of these bots, these content creators, they paid to hate Bud because the promoters did not want to let him in. Boxing is political. That's one of the reasons if your son can go a different route, you go a different route. The one thing about the UFC is it's a dictator. It's a dictatorship, and boxing is politics. And one thing, the powers that be gonna stick together. They gonna stick together versus a black man that they don't want to be there. Whether it was his attitude in the amateurs, and anytime you show qualities of being a strong will, you can't tell me what to do. I'm not going to sell my soul or sell my asshole for you. That becomes a problem. You can't be controlled. You can't. They want to be able to control you. And they couldn't control Bud. It was Bud's will. It was Bud's his belief. He didn't bend the knee and kiss Al Haymon ring. And I think that's what Turkey Al-Sheikh seen. That's what Jay-Z seen. I think it was Warren, people, saying Warren was willing to put the money up. What they seen was his perseverance. He wasn't easily to be broken to say, okay, I just do what y'all say do and get this fight. And once you sell it, that's part of his mentality. That's part of that's part of who his identity is. Terence Bud Crawford. That's his identity, man. His strong will, his will that it won't break or won't bend. That's part of Terence Bud Crawford. So had he bent the knee and let Al Haymon, kissed Al Haymon ring and let out one, he wouldn't have got paid all his money like some niggas from Dallas, Texas, really from Long Island. And two, that would have took something from his spirit. He wouldn't have been the same fighter, the same person. So he persevered and he believed. And I think that's the number one thing that's going, if he beat Canelo or if he able to hang Jermaine with Canelo, it's going to be his mental, his mentality, his how strong he is mentally, his mental strength. That's what's going to push Terence Crawford through that fight. I'm telling you that right now. Because a lot of these dudes, they lose to Canelo because they're mentally weak. I remember Virgil Hunter was Andre Ward telling Virgil, Virgil was telling him before they fought Edison Miranda, was a guy they really didn't want to fight. Anybody remember Edison Miranda? I think he broke Arthur Abraham's jaw. He was a wild punching guy. You know what I'm saying? I think I looked up his story. I think this was Edison Miranda. Miranda was his mom gave him up, right? I think this was Edison Miranda. I forget where he's from, but his mom gave him up, and basically he worked his way through life. I guess he got adopted. He worked, to be able to, get enough money to go home and find his mother. He had enough money to go find his mother. I think it was Edison Miranda. I could be wrong. To find his mother, and he found his mother, and she didn't want nothing to do with him. Edison Miranda had a hard life. If this is what I remember. She didn't want nothing to do with him. So imagine, your whole thing is to let me work. He worked as a teenager to get enough money. He started his boxing career, man. So he was a tough cat. He was a wild motherfucker too. I want to say he broke Arthur Abraham's jaw. And Andre Ward said Virgil, they sat down, he was like, it's mental, Dre. Taking a punch is mental. And Muhammad Ali said the same thing. You get hit, with a good punch, you get knocked out. Either, you can walk through that door and get up and do it again. You can walk through the door and quit or get up and do it again. It is a mentality. It is a mentality. Taking a punch is a mentality. You know what I'm saying? It's a mentality. That's why you see a lot of guys get hit. And, they first thing is they get hit, they run. I've seen a guy a couple years ago, viral video, guy smacked him. He grabbed for his gun. His gun wasn't in his bubble coat. So a lot of guys' mentality is flight. Believe it or not. Most men mentality ain't to fight out here. Most of these guys' mentality ain't to fight. No matter how greasy they talk, most guys get hit with a good punch, not even a strong punch. Their mentality is flight. It's flight. So the mentality to take a punch, the mentality to be able to get kicked, the mentality to take the abuse, it's a mental thing. Can you go down that place? You've seen guys get up and fight with broken jaws and broken orbital bones, and now you knew it's mental. It's a mental thing. But hey, appreciate y'all. Thumbs up the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel.